Well, I guess I still have an account.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Are you
haven't
scrolling
deleted
through
it.
Instagram more?
Yeah.
Are you more coming in Instagram sphere?
I know. I'm more just going on TikTok to all them titties.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
It makes me
There is some
angry
funny
every
stuff
time.
though.
Yeah, but I don't know.
It's very far in few in between.
Because I see these girls. There was one where it was like, it was there. There was a. So it's, I reckon, like 17, 16 years old or something. And there's this new trend on it today. It was something like, there's a song that goes, oh no, it's a Kendrick song. So you run around if I ran for a pussy. It's Kendrick and SZA. Can't remember the name of the song, but it goes da 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 pussy, da 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 pussy. And there, so the trend is to do. Yeah, it sounds like Kendrick.
You've really done him justice there.
Well, I could sing it, but it's too much.
You sound like an old person talking about a rap.
Da 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 pussy, da 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 pussy.
Do you speak men not have anything else to talk about?
But the trend is for them to do a video and say different things that make someone a pussy. And I was looking at a video of a 16, maybe 15 to 17-year-old girl who was, one of them was like, when he says he doesn't want to slap you, this is during sex, pussy. When he doesn't want to spit in your mouth, pussy. When he doesn't want to have sex when you're in period, pussy. And it's like...
The last one, yeah.
The last one, yeah, sure.
Yeah,
but
sex
then,
ketchup.
Sex ketchup. But it's when they're... Oh, because firstly, it angers, because one, it's like, great, we're all becoming, because I'm a person who wants to be a bit more out there with talking about sex, etc. That's a good thing. Not fucking 16-year-olds, because partly, what annoys me the most is like, you haven't had that good sex.
No.
You've had terrible sex.
Awful.
As a 16 to 18-year-old, you've had bad sex.
Do you remember the first person in our group to have sex in our friend group?
No.
To come back? It was on a lads' night when we were 14, James Francis.
How was it?
Do you
14,
remember that?
was he?
And
it was, whoa.
and I was like, whoa, and he was like, it was sick. And then but then after a while, obviously he opened with it like, yeah, it was great, it was so good. Because that's a real power move. Like, to be the first person to do it, you've suddenly, over everyone else, you've just got, like...
You've got in there.
Immediately the pressure's on the whole... If you're the first one to do it, because that's when the clock starts ticking.
Yeah, you're right.
There might be some groups, even with, like, people who are sociable and popular, there's going to be some groups where... just no one bites first.
Yeah.
So there's no pressure on
Yeah,
anyone.
so no one just like, people have had the opportunities to, but they're like, you know what, it might go wrong, and then I don't want my friends feeling that pressure. You know, I lost my virginity on Remembrance Sunday, so every time I see people wearing poppies, I think it's to commemorate my virginity loss.
I bet you don't think that.
No, I don't. I say it for the podcast because we're a comedy podcast.
This is me cutting the legs from front of me.
But so I'm a big, the debate surrounding the red or white poppy. I feel like the white doesn't really symbolise me.
Why?
It's the red.
Because
I made that bitch bleed.
Patreon. Moving swiftly on. Welcome to the Patreon episode, bonus episode 3. We also have Arcade Philosophy. It's a short-lived series, but we'll probably come back to that. Yeah. If you know,
tell us what you like.
If you're a patron, we will respond to every comment. This is this is the service you're paying for. Once we have a bigger group on you, and we will also, I keep an eye on who's coming in first, because I do think this is going to be a lot bigger. But the people who are the ones who took that first jump, we will always remember you.
Absolutely.
Okay? If you ask any question on Patreon, we have to answer it.
Yeah.
I think we should make that a rule.
Yeah, on Patreon.
Yeah, if any Patreon member asks a question.
And there'll be no...
What if it's a bad question, though?
No, but there'll be no belittling of... I'm speaking from me. There'll be no belittling of the questions. I'll answer everything with sincerity.
Yeah, but you can start using your rights as patrons.
Yeah, it's rights. You're like... You come under the Geneva Convention. Everyone else doesn't.
Exactly. It's like when we, in an ethnic cleansing sense, you're the master race.
Yeah, I think that's. We should put that in the bio for Patreon. To be free from the race war, £3 a month.
But it is interesting the idea of patrons and the kind of the word that they've used comes from the old idea of how artists would function in the old days, which is like painters would be funded by dukes and people with money, and there'd be actual patrons. But it's changed a lot because it'd be like a Habsburg, an inbred prince, who'd be like who'd just like really like this person, and be like, you have to paint me well and like stuff like that, and would fund their whole life, and that's how they'd live all these lives, and they'd always be like sort of middle class ish painters, because if you're upper class is kind of you don't want to be an artist because it's basically like being a stripper. But now the patron relationships kind of changed because it's not like one big lord. It's
the bloody democracy.
It's
comes
these people
in,
with like
and
cat profile pictures who just watch, and you don't know.
Well, it's ruled by the many over the few. And that's where we are in the world.
But aliens, we're going to carry on the conversation around aliens.
Because I think last time we did the Patreon, did we say we said, listen, like a little cliffhanger, we'll continue this conversation on Patreon. We didn't pick it up in the slides.
We're learning. We're learning with you. No one seemed to notice because there wasn't enough people watching. But we'll continue it this week. I think that we might do that as a thing where we'll carry on the conversations we were sort of talking about. We were talking about alien worlds. We're talking about aliens in general, and how they would look. And like, if you were making a rival style film, so the concept. Can you
not talk about our side projects on air?
Okay. If you were making Rush Hour 4, no, that's another one.
Star Trek.
Okay, it's Patreon. We're planning Rush Hour 4. Okay, we're both as opposed to it being a black guy and an Asian guy, it's two white guys. That's the hook. Imagine Rush Hour, but it's two white guys.
Kind of like the other guys.
Yeah. But you got the classic sci-fi trope of an alien arrives on Earth. Sure. How would you're not doing the story much, you're purely on the design team.
Yeah.
You're the science guy they call in.
Yeah.
You're the guy who's on set, who's always wearing like windbreakers and incredibly warm. You know those people when you see set photos?
Yeah.
You know there's people who stand with incredibly warm clothes.
Yeah.
And you don't quite know what they do, but they stand.
Something important.
They stand with like a huge North Face puffer,
yeah,
and they're kind of looking around like,
even though it's in the desert. Or something.
Yeah, always, because that's how you look like you're doing really. That, I think it's kind of
work,
it's now cool. I think to like dress as practically as possible in set photos.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because you want like if you see Scorsese, it's cool to see him like in a proper puffer or some stuff.
Yeah,
like
I'm into this.
Yeah, you're into
I'm
it. It's
out
like
here and I'm working for this shit.
You know, speaking to like a 6'3" actor who's like in like Elizabethan dog collar, and
they don't get it though. They're the talent. They don't get it.
You've got like a Patagonia anorak on, and you're like speaking to this
Peter Storm boots.
This giant. Because we very much look like off-screen talent. That's like.
Hey. Sure, yeah. So.
We're right. We look like writers. We're writers.
Yeah, we're right. We
got the writers look.
Yeah.
We don't have the actors.
This is true. We're not leading men. We might be the comedic friend.
Maybe, yeah. One of the writers who breaks out. You know.
Yeah.
But then we're not like. Anyway, we're not comedy ugly, which is like another way, because you can get into being that if you're like
being the
absurdly fat. But you have to be ugly. You have to be ugly in a pleasurable way. So you need to be like, so if it's like a fat jokey person, they need to be sort of like round and huggable.
Plump boys.
Yeah, you don't want like it's never like someone who's like really gnarled looking.
Yeah, they've got to have like one round stomach rather than a few rolls. They can't have rolls.
It can't be too much of a complex ugly.
Yeah.
It needs to be like
he's
generic. It can't be like. It can't be like disformed. You know, that hasn't broken in, and that's what we're planning to bring in with Rush Hour 4. Is get representation for like proper munters, like disgusting, like upsettingly ugly, not joke ugly. Like this is. Yeah.
Because the big thing about the movement towards against fat phobia and towards the acceptance of fat identities is all of these, as we were discussing the other night, all of these people are doing it are quite attractive fat people. What about the ugly fat people?
Yeah,
those are the people where it matters.
Yeah, because it's like Adele, she's breaking boundaries for fat people. She's a fit fatty.
She's an attractive fat lady.
Yeah,
not anymore.
Not anymore. She's just portrayed the side. Lizzo is an attractive fat lady.
Yeah. Plus size models. They're models still.
Yeah.
Do you know
So,
what I mean?
yeah,
They're
so
still gorgeous.
It starts raising into questions. It's like it's good that we're changing the narrative around weight being purely linked
But if we want to
attractiveness, but we
continue with the
should.
same logic,
Yeah.
let's fucking get the ugliest people to
Yeah.
star in your underwear adverts. Calvin Klein.
Yeah, like Susan Boyle.
We're
couldn't
body
do-
positive now,
Susan Boyle
all right?
couldn't do a Lizzo.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, let's get Susan Boyle and Calvin
Yeah.
Klein adverts if you really mean what you're saying, and that we should say that
'Cause
we
it
shouldn't
is-
have anyone. All body types are beautiful, and everything. The concept of beauty is relative, and every human being is beautiful. Then put Susan Boyle in your underwear adverts.
Yeah, then we'll see.
Then we'll see.
But anyway, so
Aliens.
you're in the.
I'm in the
production
Peter
team.
Storm jacket, and
You're the Peter Storm. You're the one who's the kind of who's bringing the convoluted sci-fi logic.
Yeah.
What do these aliens look like?
feet for hands and hands for feet.
Okay, that's how you start.
Yep. No, that's it.
That's it.
So it was me wearing my shoes on my hands and gloves on my feet.
So you've cast
Because I'm trying to get on-screen talent. I'm trying to get work for myself. That's the point.
Do you
no,
have
I
to be?
would.
No. I've run the numbers. I've done the science. It has to be. I'm the one who looks most like the alien, so I'm gonna have to be on screen.
Of course,
Sad.
yeah. And I have to concede that because as much as I want to be on-screen talent, I do value the job that I have behind the screen. And
You
you
throw
are
the
man.
Peter Storm jacket off,
Yeah.
and you're wearing another Peter Storm jacket with the
God
words
damn
on
it, you're
backwards.
right. Yeah, no, it would have to be you. No, so I think the way that I'm going to reference it again.
Genuinely.
Yeah, I think the way that The Arrival did it is the best way to do it because I would want to lean into the idea that any alien that we're ever going to come across is probably going to be one that we can't comprehend.
Sure.
So I think a lot of any kind of communication we might have from aliens would be through communication, WhatsApp, encrypted messages. Okay, this technology didn't come from nowhere. Okay, it doesn't.
End-to-end encryption. You're sitting down with the producer.
Right.
Here's how they communicate. Through WhatsApp.
Because hear me out. End-to-end encryption. Doesn't come out of nowhere, fellas. But I would. So I'd focus on that aspect. So I think what The Arrival did well was make it quite vague. So don't show a lot of them. I think a good way to like they did the tetrapods. So you could see their legs and they kind of went up, and you had no idea what was happening above that. Is I would try to make it as obtainable and understandable as humanly possible. So a lot of it is like CGI. So I wouldn't be if you're asking me as a CGI person or a costume designer, they're two very different questions.
I'm just saying you're doing the sketches and you're doing art direction. You don't have to do the technical stuff. You're just
I'd
saying,
remove any kind of concept of the body.
okay, yeah.
First of all, so I'd
would it be like intelligent gases almost?
Yes, yeah, or puddles.
Yeah, okay. No,
Or puddles.
Genuinely.
Or
that's
one
alright.
of the two, gases or puddles. But then I think it doesn't have as much power if you just do a gas. The Arrival wouldn't have worked. It was just like a little bit of smoke going around it. I think we have to put some formulation into it for the movie to hit.
Yeah.
And I'm all about us selling tickets as
Yeah.
well. Like I'm not out here trying to be...
Rush Hour 4 wasn't our dream project.
But we've got to make some dollars. Look, we're out here. But whilst progressing some ideas as well.
Yeah.
We're going to
Get ugly people. Ugly white people. Get ugly white people.
whilst making stats of cash, and that's the Golden Kelvin promise. But so yeah, I'd go as idealistically, I go as vague as possible without having any form, anything that could be sort of moderately human or Earth-like in terms of how its bodies were to adapt. Can you keep writing if you wouldn't mind? Oh, I'm gonna take my own notes.
No, you're going to draw it.
Okay, so if I'm starting loosing, I'll start loosing the body, and this is where it does something that we don't understand.
Also, we don't have this on audio. This is only video, so we don't need to
So it's
pander
true.
to those audio losers.
So then it would then come up, but it's all 3D.
Okay, you have 5 more seconds. 5,
And then
4,
this is.
3, 2, 1. Remember, Andrew's not known for his drawing.
So then
so
we'd
can you
see.
explain it?
So the
So
opposite.
they can see it.
So it's the opposite of the
I can
Arrival.
hold it out.
So, but I haven't finished.
Oh, so, well,
I just
your
need that.
time's
Yeah,
over.
I know. So in the Arrival, what the Arrival went for was to see their legs, see the bottom of the base of their legs, without going into the top half. So what I've done there is gone for the top half without really understanding the bottom half. So what we think we can see here is a head. There's the loose conception of a head. You see the nose coming here, the mouth. This was absolutely accidental, by the way.
Red herring.
I essentially just drew a squiggle when I can now see a face in it, so I'm going to roll with it. And so something that looks like an eye here, but you can see it coming out, and it won't be an eye as you know it. You cunts know it.
Yeah.
It'll be something different. It almost looks like a balding man. It looks like Larry David.
It does. I was just thinking that. It looks like a balding Jewish man.
So basically, my conception of aliens is old Jewish men.
Who are formed like puddles, who move around.
Who move like puddles.
Yeah.
What would yours be?
Well, so I do agree that it's like what was cool about Arrival and things like that. In a way, Alien, the Ridley Scott film, it's like showing less is like the best way to do it because it's playing on the one thing that we all agreed that we don't know what they look like. So, and that's the best way. But I feel there's almost something valiant about showing it all. Like maybe it's not as
taking
artistic.
a punt.
Just taking. I think if I was going to do it, I would just sincerely go. Fuck it. You're going to see every inch of this alien.
Like Alien Worlds in a way.
Yeah.
You know what?
Like,
Fuck it.
Fuck it.
I'm going to give it my best shot.
There was no suspense or drama or see a thing. It was just purely this is
It's
it.
taking that leap of faith. It's taking the jump.
And I might even have the opening shot of just a slow panning round of the alien. Just there's no
mystery.
build-up.
You know when you go,
the spaceship doesn't come down and the door open. First shot.
show it in the trailer.
It's the poster.
First shot of the trailer. By the way, this is what the alien looks like. If you were curious or inquisitive to find out what it looks like, but can't watch the film, don't bother. This is what it looks like.
I would probably I would use one of those things of using Earth logic, but in the way that Alien Worlds talked about twice as much gravity, having sky gliders that can glide on an air cushion. I would take something about a creature here and expand it. So they also had
what creature? Have you got one in mind?
I would go for something like.
Are we talking land, sea, or air?
I'd say I'm gonna go land.
Yep.
And I'm going to go for I'll do a lot of research into the elephant, which is already quite an alien-looking creature. But
apologies to any elephants
with in the heavy gravity planet on Alien Worlds, there was a creature that was boneless because it could be
much like an octopus.
And it looked like an octopus that would roll.
Because the sea is basically aliens. By the way, that was another point I wanted to make here.
It rolls like a tumbleweed, so I'd have. An elephant with no bones.
Oh, I like it.
So it's
it.
But because
roll over itself.
Yeah.
So maybe they don't have a back or a front.
So I'll tell you how. Here we go. I've got it.
Everything in Earth seems to have a back and a front.
I'll tell you this is how it works.
Okay.
Maybe I need to check the science, but on the planet that this one's on, maybe there's a lot of thermals that mean that the air is always pushing up.
Skin tight thermals.
No, not skin tight thermals.
Okay.
You're thinking too much.
So I'm a human. God damn it! I've never been so aware of my human condition.
You need to start getting out of this. It's like an elephant-type creature, but it's got 3 trunks. It's very rubbery, but it's outside car dealerships where it has those things blown up by, and how they move around is because they're very light and they're blown up by thermals in the ground, or the hot air comes up through holes in their feet, and they're blown up, and they look big, but they can move through gaps and holes. They can fold up. They're like a big coat that you can crunch up, stuff like that. But the first shot is because when they come to Earth, none of that applies, so they die immediately. So they just look like a skin piled up on each other.
We have come to make contact. and then they're dead.
But then, attractive science lady.
Yes.
Amy
Adams.
There's Amy Adams. There's Jessica Chastain. I'll just do the next attractive, clever woman lady. Yeah. Whoever's the new clever woman on screen, which is hot, but not
enough cast of Tara Reid for those kind of roles.
Why is that?
Sexism.
Yeah. So maybe I'd go on the kind of.
Because she's also starred in the Sharknado trilogy.
Yeah, I think maybe that might be it. or maybe I'd follow the Rush Hour 4 mantra of genuinely ugly people. So maybe I'd get Susan Boyle or someone who's of that sort of genre to play the
ugly. What a nice way to say.
Genuine
of the genre.
Yeah. And then that would be the hot science lady.
Yeah.
And she would find this pile of skin. And then
people would resign it off as being just a nonsense thing,
Oh, this is just a pile of skin.
And she's the only one on the planet who thinks it's not.
First shot, we see it land. Everyone ignores it. 10 years later, or maybe here we go. We start in when the pyramids are getting built. Ooh. It comes out of the sky. It lands in front
of the pyramid.
On the pyramid, it gets skewered on there,
Ignorant people
and
say,
then
it's probably nothing.
It keeps every 1,000 or so years. It keeps doing like really highly produced historical moments, and it's always at really key moments in history.
Yeah. Jesus on the cross
One of these
lands on, and they always land exactly on the historical land.
one of these skin bags lands on there. And then it happens in the modern day in like, I don't know, the year 2000.
Lands on the atomic bomb. We can never have any more evidence of that one.
It happens during 9/11. It lands on the plane as it hits.
Yeah.
And
But everyone's too busy being distracted by the massive historical moments until
fat Susan Boyle. Susan Boyle. She comes up with this idea of recreating the conditions that something like this could survive. So when one of these lands...
she has to make her own historical landmark in
yeah.
time.
Yeah.
She has to create... Yeah.
No. So there's two parts. No, I like that. That's
sometimes
good.
You get Horatio could say or in such a way that you think he's saying yes to your idea, but he's actually suggesting something completely different.
So she sees this skin bag and she's like, right, we need to create it so that next time one of these lands, we can put it in like a chamber that it can survive.
Yep.
So like blow it up again.
Yeah.
But it doesn't come.
Yeah.
And she's built this thing.
And that's when people doubt her.
So that's when she has to make her own historical moment.
Yeah. Oh, great. Yeah.
She gets
her.
a plane.
She's waiting, and everyone's all these men, white men in white lab coats, are standing around this structure. Hot, sexy men are standing around her, Fat Susan Boyle, in her creation of hot air producing.
George Clooney, but with like old person prosthetics. Shouting
as in, they'll be extras. George Clooney, Brad Pitt, they'll all be extras. They're laughing at her. And she says, and then she starts to give up.
Throwing in that she's ugly.
She starts to give up. She becomes an alcoholic. She's just about to put a heroin needle in her veins, and the idea comes.
Fly a plane to the new World Trade Center.
Then the next part of the film is like a terrorist movie.
The problem was
people didn't think it was a good idea.
Because it was a second World Trade Center, it wasn't as big as
Was it significant enough? So she murders hundreds of people.
She's in jail.
She's in jail.
She works out.
And still, no one believes her.
But she gets hot in jail.
And she then breaks out of jail, Prison Break-esque. Then she creates a entirely new, different historical moment that will transcend everything.
Yeah.
One that we need to work on. We'll come back to you on that one.
And then one of them comes, then she makes it.
But she's ready for it.
End the film, come back for the next film.
Sequel.
Yeah. And then when we make Rush Hour 4... in Rush Hour 4...
Was there not 4 Rush Hours, by the way?
There might be.
Don't look... I mean...
Oh, yeah, because I can't...
I'm pretty sure there was a 4.
Whatever
Rush Hour hasn't been made yet, but the next one.
Yeah, so it may be Rush Hour 5.
Why don't we just call it Rush Hour the next?
The next Rush Hour.
Yeah.
In that film, because we're producing these around similar times, it's within our production company that we're making, we will put a lot of Easter eggs in the backgrounds of all the films we're producing of one of those skin.
It's like the Marvel Universe.
Yeah, it's like the MCU, and it's one of those skin bags would fall in the backgrounds of loads of shots. In all of these
because
films.
Rush Hour 4,
Rush Hour 4 are running, and then we see
Rush Hour 4 will be creating in that narrative the next big historical event, and then at the end of that one, we'll see Susan Boyle walk into shot and go, of course. Then we go to our sequels.
Rush Hour 6.
Rush Hour 6. Rush Hour 6. The Elephant Man returneth.
Cool. I think that we pretty much covered how we would just make aliens for a sci-fi film.
Yeah. I think although we came up with some interesting ideas from your perspective, I still think this has some merit.
Larry David Puddle.
It's on the drawing board and we're not taking it off, but we should consider it. It's not.
It'll always be there.
It will always be there in the universe.
We've literally
he might be like God, the human understanding of God. So he could that face could poke through the shotter sometimes and just remind everyone that maybe humans are right and God does exist and Christianity is truth and heaven is.
Played by Bernie Sanders.
Played by
Larry David.
Larry David.
Because it's like a nice little switcheroo because
Larry
David plays Bernie Sanders in SNL sketches.
But never is it the other way around.
Flip it around.
Never is it the other way
around. Then
Alec
Baldwin comes on, played by Donald Trump.
Whoa! And then
Donald Trump's looking for a job now.
Jim Carrey played by Joe Biden.
Incredible.
Who's played by Jason Sudeikis.
So Jason Sudeikis playing Jim Carrey playing Joe Biden.
Jason Sudeikis playing Joe Biden playing Jim Carrey.
Okay.
Sudeikis plays Biden. Biden plays
So it's
Carrey.
Alec Baldwin, Larry David. They're hanging out. they've been played by Trump and Bernie Sanders, but
Yeah.
in the world of the universe, we need to pretend they're
Jason
at a boardroom.
Sudeikis walks in.
Is that
Who's
Jason Sudeikis? No, it's
No, it's Joe Biden who's playing Jim Carrey.
playing Jason Sudeikis. So
Joe
Joe Biden won't be in the
Sudeikis
universe.
is the actor.
Yeah.
Because in our world, there is Donald Trump.
He's not there.
No, Donald Trump's the actor.
Donald Trump's the actor.
Exactly.
So
Donald Trump, the actor, and who's the other one?
Bernie Sanders.
Bernie Sanders, the actor, are playing both Alec Baldwin and Bernie Sanders.
Yeah.
But in Jason Sudeikis is the actor, but he's playing Joe Biden, who is doing SNL, playing Jim Carrey.
Thanks for listening to the Patreon episodes. It's been a pleasure. Let's start some discourse. We're still very open for these ideas to be talked about. Comment, like, subscribe. You know the drill.
Tell your friends.
Tell your friends. Thanks for subscribing. And yeah, just let us know anything that you'd like to see from Patreon. We might do some Patreon
Because if it's
lives.
not that, we don't really know what it should be.
Because I feel this is the first episode where this is the first day of the rest of our lives, because we've just realised the way that Patreon episodes should be done.
We can do film ideas.
We can do ideas that we wouldn't trust with the scum who don't pay for the podcast, but we trust with you. You're part of the brain. You're part of the brain trust. That's what we should.
The brain
That's
trust.
what we should call our patrons.
The brain trusters.
The brain. We need
Doesn't
probably
know
like
good
something
brain to it.
unique. Something maybe.
The brainstorms.
The brainstormers. The Peter
brain
Storm,
troopers.
The brain Peter Stormers.
Peter brainstormers.
We're going to carry on this conversation off air and bring you back some answers next week. But thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next week.